You are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
What's up? We got some new updates revolving around the Fort Stewart base assailant. Of course, we already know his name is Quornelius Radford. He left a very strange, cryptic text message to his auntie, basically saying he's going to be in a better place after he goes and does what he needs to do. Of course, I'm paraphrasing here. We're going to get into this article here very shortly. But the question I'm wondering is, was this because he alleges that there was racism on the base and he couldn't take it anymore and he took matters into his own hands, which, by the way, that doesn't justify anything. You should just, speak to authorities, speak to the higher ups and handle your stuff internally. But if things were said and they weren't heard, could it be that he just took matters in his own hands because he couldn't take it anymore? Or was he making this up in his own mind because of mental health issues? Those are the questions I still have, and hopefully they get those answered very, very soon. But let's take a look at this article here really quick. Again, he sent a text message to his auntie basically saying, yeah, I'll see you when I see you, okay? So clearly he had a bigger plan. I'm thinking he was planning on doing more than just 5 people, if that makes any sense. So let's see what happens here. The U.S. Army sergeant accused of opening fire on fellow soldiers at Fort Stewart Base reportedly sent an anonymous text message to a relative before the actual tragedy, warning that he'd be in a better place, quote unquote, better place soon. Sergeant Quornelius Radford, 28, the guy who got arrested, is accused of pulling the trigger on 5 soldiers at the Army base Wednesday before he was quickly tackled by other soldiers. And thank God he was tackled, because he had plans to do something very bad. Let's be real. Worse than the 5, I believe. But moving on. In the lead up to the violence, Radford had apparently fired off a text message to his own auntie saying, quote unquote, he loved everybody and that he'd be in a better place because he was about to go and do something. So obviously he had plans on not coming out of that Fort Stewart base area alive. That was his plan. He knew that he had a feeling that what he was about to do, he was not going to come out breathing, okay? Authorities are still probing a motive for the actual situation and refuse to speculate on what could have triggered Radford, an active duty sergeant specializing in automated logistics. So his father, Eddie Radford, told the Times that the sergeant had recently been trying to get transferred from that base and had apparently complained to his family in the past of racism at the base where he had been stationed for years. So like I said earlier, could it be a situation where he just couldn't take it anymore? He was very mad. Maybe he went to higher ups, tried to file complaints. He even was trying to get transferred. So obviously he wasn't happy there, but that does not excuse what he did. But it does make you wonder what's really going on here and why did he do what he did? Could that be the true motive here? Or did he just have a mental health break and, just did what he wanted to do because of his mental health issue? We don't know. We're going to find out, I'm sure, as time goes on. But the father added that his son didn't have a history. This is also interesting. Didn't have a history of serious mental health issues, but had struggled in the past with depression after his mom passed away when he was a child. So I guess maybe that's what it is, or depression is taking over. I don't know, right? But we'll find out more information soon. He was enlisted in 2018, and he was stationed at the Fort Stewart since 2022. He allegedly opened fire on the base with his own personal weapon shortly before 11 a.m. The 5 soldiers he's accused of actually pulling the trigger on were actually co-workers in his actual unit. And of course, good news, they're all expected to survive, which is obviously very, very good news. All right. Someone also said that I don't have a reason to believe that it had anything to do with a training event, which clearly it's not, right? Other than that, I can't state the motivations for this soldier. They also said that there was little information that they gave about Radford's background. But he did reveal, though, that the suspect had a prior DUI arrest, which was only just a few months ago, by the way, which I'm still wondering why the Army the military did not see that information, that didn't just fly up as a red flag, or, his higher ranks weren't notified for this DUI, because that is deeply, deeply frowned upon, and that's not a good thing. So it is weird that did not happen, okay? So they said, which is unknown to the chain of command. His DUI was unknown to the chain of command until after the tragedy happened, okay? When officials started looking into law enforcement databases, when they started to dive in to find out who this Quornelius Radford guy is, that's when they found out, oh, damn, this guy's been pulled over for a DUI in the past. What's up with that, right? Clearly, that would have been heavily frowned upon. I don't know if he would be kicked out of the Army for it, but at the same time, shouldn't they know these things? That's, in my personal opinion, a very, very big deal. So, of course, he's due for a hearing on August 20th, all right? And but he was due for that hearing for driving under the influence and running a red light in May 18th. Okay, so this was not very long ago when he was arrested, okay, pulled over and arrested for a DUI. So it does make you wonder, how is that even possible, right? That he gets arrested, gets the DUI, and the Army, military just didn't even see that. That should have been seen. And then, of course, maybe if they found out about that earlier, there could have been a possibility of them being able to prevent this from actually happening as well, right? They dive into the situation, they ask him questions, they find out what's going on with him, they see that he's deeply depressed, and maybe they give him the proper help that he needs, or they release him from the Army, and then maybe this situation never happens. But like I said, that's a woulda, coulda, shoulda situation. And of course, these are all just this is all information that's just coming out. We do not know what the motive is. We do not know the reason behind any of this. At the end of the day, this man should not have done what he did. It is disturbing. It is wrong. It is messed up. And I'm really glad, as far as the good news, is that he's been detained. The 5 that are injured are going to make it, and that is great news. But of course, when we get more information, we will get to it, and we will talk about that as well. But what say you guys? Do you know anything else? Do you think that, this could have been prevented by the DUI situation or the racism claims? What do you think? Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button, and we'll talk here soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.